Payable on Death POD. Payable on Death POD is an arrangement between a bank or credit union and a client that designates beneficiary to retrieve all of the client asset. The immediate transfer of asset is triggered by the death of the client. Though morbid, these structures are important to understand. Payable on death is also referred to as a total trust. Payable on Death (POD) is an arrangement that an individual makes with financial institution to designate beneficiaries to their bank account or certificate of deposit. POD are simpler to create and maintain than trusts and wills. Understanding Payable on Death (POD). An individual with an account or certificate of deposit at a bank can designate a beneficiary who will inherit any money in the account after their death. A bank account with the named beneficiary is called a Payable on Death (POD) account. People who opt for POD account do so to keep their money out of probate court in the event that they pass away. It is easy to convert an account to a POD account. Designating a beneficiary is a cost-free service that allows for the transfer of all checking and saving account, security deposit, saving bond, and other deposit certificate by filling out the proper form at your bank or credit union. The account holder need only to notify the bank of who the beneficiary should be. The bank, on its end, will give the owner of the account a beneficiary designation form called a total trust to fill out. The complete form gives the bank authorization to convert the account to POD. The named beneficiary is not entitled to any of the money in the account while the account holder is still alive. Upon death, the beneficiary automatically becomes the owner of the account, bypassing the account holder's estate and skipping probate completely. In the event that the owner of POD account passes away with unpaid debt and taxes, their POD account may be subject to claim by creditor and the government. If the account holder lives in a community property state, their spouse has a claim to half of the asset in the POD account, except the assets that were acquired before marriage or funds that were inherited. If the account was jointly owned by more than one person, a named beneficiary cannot access the fund until the last owner dies. In this case, the asset in the account will be turned over to the beneficiary's name by the last surviving owner. There are no stipulations on the minimum amount of money that must be available in the account upon death. There are also no limitation to a POD account. The account holder can spend all the money prior to their death, change the beneficiary on the account, or close the account completely. To lay claim to the fund, the beneficiary has to present a government ID as proof or identity in addition to a certified copy of the death certificate. Benefit of a POD account. A significant benefit of POD account is that an account owner can increase their coverage limit under the Federal Deposit Insurance Corp (FDIC). The standard coverage limit for an individual asset at a particular financial institution, including checking and saving account, money market account, and CD. Since a POD is a type of revocable living trust that has someone else with a beneficiary interest on the account, the FDIC provides coverage on up to 5 accounts at a single bank where each account has a different named beneficiary. Each beneficiary cannot be covered for more than $250,000 instead of saving in one account, which will only be insured. Having multiple POD accounts can increase an account holder's coverage by up to 5 times the standard limit. As a general rule, a POD account can have more than one beneficiary. However, if the account owner wants each beneficiary to receive an equal portion of the asset in the account, they must check that their state law allows it. Given that some states only permit an equal distribution of funds in POD account, it is important to note that POD is more powerful than a last will and testament. If a POD account has one individual name as the beneficiary and the will of the account holder lists another individual as a beneficiary, the POD designated beneficiary prevails. The named beneficiary on POD account is not required to honor the account holder's last will and testament, which make it imperative that the individual insures to change or cancel the POD beneficiary if they have someone else listed on their will. Thank you.